So now we're at the other end of the cathedral, and we're up in the organ loft of the Flentrop organ. And this was built and installed in 1977 by the Dutch firm of Flentrop, which has been in business for a long time. And this is different. It operates by a different system. This is called a mechanical action organ or a tracker organ, T-R-A-C-K-E-R, and you'll see in a minute why it's sometimes called that. But if Johann Sebastian Bach suddenly came back to life here in the 21st century, he would instantly recognize this organ as something very, very similar to what he played in his lifetime in the early 1700s. The only electricity that's used in this organ is the motor to supply air for the main reservoir. So other than that, all the playing action is purely mechanical, which is why it's called a mechanical action organ. So when one presses a key here, there is a direct mechanical linkage by a long piece of wood called a tracker that goes from the back of the key up through the organ and pulls down a valve underneath each pipe. As that tracker moves, it pulls the valve open, air rushes up, and the pipe sounds. So you'll notice other differences are the pedal board here, the bass notes played with the feet, is flat, and in a few weeks we'll have a little show and tell program about the new console in the front, and you'll see that the pedal board is gently curved there. It's a little bit like the difference between computer keyboards nowadays. We have these ergonomic keyboards that are laid out in ways that are easier to play, and especially at the ends here. The bottom notes here and the top notes are a long reach. So in organs built nowadays, they curve so the top and bottom ends are raised up a little bit, and the feeling of reach is not so far at the extremes of the pedal board. Also, the stop knobs here, which control the individual sounds, are, as you can see, engaged only by hand. There are no mechanical devices to make those knobs go in and out. So one has to be pretty slick about how you reach out and grab things or put them back in. And sometimes you just have to leave out a left-hand note, reach over for what you want. But at any rate, again, this is exactly the same system that Bach would have been familiar with and was used in pipe organs all over the world until the advent of electricity, of course. And as you could tell from John Muller's explanation, that depends very much on electricity. And of course, it was with the rise of electric power in the early 20th century that electro-pneumatic pipe organs became a possibility. So prior to that, mechanical was the only available system. So we'll go in the back of the organ and you can see why this is called a tracker. Do this. Can you get in here, Scott? Sorry, this only opens. See, it only goes that far. All right. So here's looking back right behind the keyboard. You can see the back of the keyboards here. And from the keyboards come these roller boards. And when the key moves, it pulls on the horizontal piece of wood, and that is connected right here. So the motion transfers from horizontal to vertical right through this block right here. So when the key presses, that happens, and you can see this tracker that is quite long and goes up to one of the wind chests in the organ where the pipes sit, comes down and it pulls the valve open and the pipe speaks. So that's And around here, I don't know if you can get like right here, Scott. It's a heavy turn. Yeah. You can see these are the trackers that come from the pedal board. You can see they originate down low here. So they pull, and again, these squares are connected to these long vertical trackers that are made of very thin pieces of wood. And when they pull down, they open the valve and the pipe speaks. So it's a very simple process, or a very simple idea, has to be executed beautifully in terms of the craftsmanship for everything to work as smoothly and evenly as one hopes. But this it was one of the true crafts in that you had to be good at so many things: metalwork, woodwork, design, all sorts of physics and geometry to build one of these things and do a really good job of it. And in the essence, it hasn't changed that much over the centuries. As you could tell, the goal is the same: to let air into a pipe and create sound. And it's just the mechanism for letting that air in that has evolved over time with electricity and the advent of solid-state technology being big factors in the evolution of how pipe organs can work. But many of these mechanical action organs are still built today because they're timeless in their creation, and they last for a very, very long time. Many of these organs are centuries old in Europe, and given good maintenance and care and the occasional renovation, they still play beautifully even 300 years later. So that gives you just a little glimpse into how these two wonderful organs work. And we'll have more in coming weeks.